Many Christians believe the Bible has much to say about the events in Israel, the wider Middle East, and the rest of the world. That was the focus of the second annual Epicenter Conference in California. And CBN's Eric Stackelbeck was there.
The world's most powerful leaders gathered in Europe earlier this month to try to solve a growing host of problems. But many Americans are looking elsewhere for answers. 9,000 people packed San Diego's Cox Arena recently for the second annual Epicenter Conference. The event, co-sponsored by best-selling author Joel Rosenberg and San Diego's Horizon Church, looked at how current events in the Middle East are fulfilling Bible prophecy.
The eyes of the nations are so clearly fixed on Israel and her neighbors, the epicenter of the momentous events that are shaking our world.
Everywhere Israel looks today, threats are gathered against it. Hamas in the south, Hezbollah in Syria in the north. Arming and funding all three is an Iranian regime that considers the acquisition of nuclear weapons its divine mission. It's no wonder speakers here today say that the situation in the Middle East is quite literally about to explode.
Right now, Russia is forming a military alliance with the nation of Iran. A Hebrew prophet, Ezekiel, in the Old Testament, wrote 2,500 years ago that Russia would form an alliance with Iran and a group of other countries against Israel in what Ezekiel described as the last days of history.
People in more than 40 countries watched the conference online to learn more about these gathering threats, with more than 60 churches across North America showing their congregations a live broadband feed of the event. They heard about the struggle for survival that many in southern Israel face on a daily basis.
For the past 8 years, a civilian population of roughly 500,000 men, women, and children have been attacked non-stop.
Retired Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin says Americans are mistaken if they think they're immune from the same threats Israel faces.
Americans have to get their head out of the sand. And they have to realize that these people are not just a bunch of unsophisticated cave dwellers. These are very sophisticated people, and they're rabidly fanatical about their intentions. They won't stop. They're not going to back off.
But Rosenberg says that even in the darkest days, there is a greater power at work.
The question is, where is the God of the Bible in all of this? Where do we find hope? Where do we find peace? And I think that's the importance of a conference like this right now.
From the Epicenter Conference in San Diego, Eric Stackelbeck, CBN News.
And from the looks of that crowd, Pat, a lot of folks interested in all of that.
Well, obviously they are. We've been talking about Ezekiel 38 for a long, long time, showing you maps of what's going to happen, and the events are working in that direction. You know, who would have thought that Persia would suddenly turn into a avowed enemy of Israel? Persia's always been friendly toward Israel until this Iranian revolution took place and overthrew the Shah. And how about Russia? The old Russian Soviet Empire wasn't particularly interested in an alliance with Iran. Now the Russian state is. They're sending money, they're sending technology down to Iran. And there's something called Cush in the Bible, and it looks like that's Sudan, and who would have thought that Sudan would become a hotbed of radical Islamists? Well, it's all shaping up. We're living in the last days. We might as well recognize it.